Well, she was a very independent lady. Went out every day, went to the shops every day with a walker thing that she always did. And used to meet people, didn't she, for coffee, some of the old people around the village. She was getting frail. I mean, she was 83, but she was diagnosed with diabetes about 8 months ago, and I don't think she really abided by the rules very well, and she did become quite thin. But as in health-wise, I mean, as I say, she went out every day, was very independent.
Probably about 3:30 after I got the kids from school, walked in and she was sort of slumped on the sofa. And I sort of said, "Nan, are you all right?" And she sort of looked slumped and just not with it. And her breathing was very kind of shallow and sort of rattly, if you like. So obviously I rung an ambulance and then rung my mum, and she sort of came straight over. And the people on the other end of the phone told me to keep giving her water and keep her awake, and then mum arrived. Then it was an hour, I think, before they got there, the ambulance people. So obviously, in between giving her water and keeping her comfortable, we were sort of going out, coming back in. When the ambulance people arrived, one of them got out first and was sort of strolling up the path, and I was sort of like, she's in here, He was just sort of strolling in very casually, chewing on chewing gum. Sort of came in and sort of said, "What's this?" Didn't really seem very comforting, was he? He was sort of
just what we got here, sort of thing.
I mean, and he said, "Oh, is this breathing normal?" And sort of said, "No, she's normally kind of quite active." And so then, he just sort of sat there and started taking notes. And we were sort of like, "Well, can you not give her any oxygen or anything to help with her breathing?" You could see she was struggling and she was in a lot of pain. So we were sort of concerned about her, being comfortable, weren't we, really?
Yeah, but he just seemed more interested, didn't he, in writing down her date of birth, which I thought, well, we could have done that afterwards. I could give you all that when you got her comfortable, After, I should think, half an hour, 40 minutes, they eventually decided they were going to put her on a chair trolley thing because they couldn't get the stretcher in. She was slumped sideways, and he just got her under her arm and pulled her to the edge of the sofa where she just collapsed like a rag doll, and then just started to sort of go like this, and he just stood above her. He didn't even bend down to see what she was, and he just said, you're going to be sick?" And then looked at us, didn't he, and said, "Oh, can you get a bowl or something?" Where she carried on doing this sort of like this. And then my daughter sort of looked at her, and she went down underneath to look at her and screamed at him, "She's not breathing." The other one came over, didn't he, and he just grabbed her and almost threw her, didn't he, on the trolley that the paramedic was standing with. They didn't even do it together, which I thought was wrong, but he threw her on this trolley and she fell back and her eyes were just like that. And she screamed, "She's dead." And the paramedic said, "She's not dead, she's got a pulse." They hadn't done anything
to help her.
They hadn't spoken to her.
No.
They didn't hold her hand. They didn't say to her, "Oh, don't worry, Isabel, we'll get you sorted." They just didn't speak to us. They didn't speak to her. They didn't hold her hand and just say, "Don't worry, we'll get you sorted out and get you more comfortable." There was nothing. They didn't say a word. Obviously, we got the impression, didn't we, that when she screamed at them that she's not breathing, they realised that this was serious and they panicked. And then they threw her literally on this trolley, on this chair thing, took her out outside her front door, where they then put her on a flat stretcher. And then was the first time they gave her any oxygen. So they then took her out on this trolley. They then put the oxygen on it, wheeled her off, and said to us, "We will, if you wait here, we'll come back and we'll assess her and let you know if you want to pack a bag," didn't they? Because she will go to hospital. So off they went with her. We sort of sat there just looking at one another and a bit in shock, really.
When she was lying there, she had a distended stomach, didn't she?
Oh, yes, because I did point out that.
And we pointed out this and said that that's not normally how she looks. So when he felt it, didn't he? And he said, oh, it all feels soft. So obviously we thought, oh, okay, well, that's fine then. So obviously when they picked her up,
And it wasn't gentle, was it?
No.
And just got her under the arm and pulled her to the edge of the sofa. And my only assumption is that whatever this was in her stomach has come up, flooded her lungs. I don't know. It was probably one of the most traumatic and horrific things I've seen, and I know it was for my daughter because she was my mum and her nan, and to see her treated like that, and all I could say is I feel sorry for anybody that ever gets those two treating any of their family.
For weeks on end, I'd be playing out the whole day in my head, you know, just keeps going round and round, and, you know. Yeah, reliving everything, really. I think if they'd have paid more attention to maybe what was in her stomach, maybe they could have moved her and it never had to get to that point. And like Mum said, we just don't want anyone else to have to go through that, because it's not very nice to see. Like, you know, especially family members, it's horrific.